When those words left her lips, it felt as though the floor gave way beneath me. We were sitting quietly in the living room when, without warning, my wife let out a sigh and said, "Sometimes I wonder if I should have married my ex instead." She spoke so casually, like it was nothing more than a passing thought. But for me it cut like a blade. I didn't argue, didn't demand an explanation, didn't raise my voice. Instead, I rose to my feet, grabbed my keys and walked out. I left without a single word, letting the silence I created speak for me. She might have assumed I was sulking or overreacting, but the truth was far heavier. I was already broken. That one sentence told me everything I needed to know about how she really viewed our marriage. That night I didn't drive far. I just kept circling the roads, thoughts racing. I replayed every sacrifice, every late night I had worked to give her the life she wanted, every promise I kept while she silently longed for someone else. I couldn't bring myself to return home, so I checked into a hotel. I wanted her to feel my absence, to sit with the weight of what her words had done. I didn't call or text. I simply vanished. By the second day, her tone shifted. She began calling repeatedly, leaving voicemails full of panic, asking where I was, apologizing, begging me to come home. I ignored them. What she didn't know was that I had already started preparing for this possibility long before her slip of the tongue. Deep down, I had sensed her lack of appreciation, the little traces of resentment hidden in her tone. Quietly, I had set aside money in a separate account, arranged important documents, and even rented a small apartment under her radar. That one careless remark became the final push I had been waiting for. By the third day, she sounded frantic. Long messages arrived on my phone, filled with apologies. She claimed she hadn't meant what she said, that frustration had gotten the better of her, that comparing herself to others on social media had warped her thoughts. But I knew better. People often reveal their truest feelings in unguarded moments, and I couldn't ignore the truth in hers. Meanwhile, my belongings had already been moved into the apartment I had prepared months earlier. I had trusted my instincts, and they hadn't failed me. When she turned up at my workplace to find me, a colleague told her I was on leave. That must have been when she realized I was serious. She tracked down the hotel where she thought I was staying, but by the time she arrived, I had already gone. I left no trace of my new address. She began turning to others then, my family, her friends, crying and pleading, trying to paint me as the one who had abandoned her. But when asked why, she had no choice but to admit what she had said to me. And that's when support for her began to fade. The real blow came soon after. She learned that the life she had taken for granted was never truly hers. The house she believed we owned together was in my name alone. The car she drove every day was leased under my account. The credit cards she freely used were tied to my bank. Piece by piece, the reality set in. Without me, she had nothing. I stayed away for a week. In that time, her messages shifted in tone, from dismissive to apologetic to desperate. At first, she accused me of being childish for walking away over just a comment. Then came pleas of love, confessions that she didn't mean it, promises that I was the only one she wanted. Finally, she crumbled into desperation, telling me she couldn't survive without me. But I remembered every night I lay awake wondering if I was enough. Every sigh of disinterest when I tried to make her happy. Every effort of mine brushed aside as though it meant little. And above all, I remembered her exact words. I should have married my ex. That wasn't a careless slip. It was the truth she had carried inside. Once spoken, there was no undoing it. On the 9th day, she finally tracked me down. She appeared at my new apartment, tears running down her face, hair disheveled, looking broken. She reached out to embrace me, but I stepped back. She pleaded, promising never to say anything like that again. But her words no longer mattered. Trust, once shattered, can't be rebuilt with apologies. I told her I wasn't coming back, that I had already started the divorce process, and she needed to prepare herself. The color drained from her face, and she collapsed to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Through her tears, she admitted she never thought I would actually leave. She assumed I'd argue, forgive, and carry on as I always had. But this time, my silence had spoken louder than forgiveness. That's when she learned everything. The hidden savings, the apartment I had secured months before, The fact that I had been planning my exit long before she let her true thoughts slip. She realized then that she had underestimated me, believing I would always stay no matter what. But now, she was left with nothing but the consequences of her own choices, and the ghost of the life she thought she controlled.